Hi, First Presbyterian Church of Morristown. It's your pastor, Stuart Spencer, with our Way of the Week. Don't forget that we're looking for your help in recording these 2 to 3 minute reflections on our Way of the Week. I'd love to see some of our children, youth, and young adults create one of these Ways videos. For dates and details, please contact Jan Martin. Our Way of the Week this week, number 5, Assume Positive Intent, is for a lot of us a keystone way for the practice of the rest of the ways. For instance, it helps enormously to speak the truth in love if you can start with positive intent. In the same way, if you are called upon to forgive again someone, it makes a big difference if you can begin with positive intent. So our Way of the Week this week is number 5, Assume Positive Intent. And the way reads as follows. Decide to trust that other members are being fair, honest, and concerned for the well-being of our church. Set aside your own judgments and preconceived notions. Surrender the urge to criticize and judge. It doesn't help. Graciously give people the benefit of the doubt. An important biblical undergirding for this way comes from the familiar words of 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 to 7. There the Apostle Paul writes, "Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wronged. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance." Love assumes positive intent. Now, if you'd like a little exercise that might help you get a sense of how you're doing with this way, let me suggest going back to that passage from 1 Corinthians 13 and replacing the word love with your name and see how it reads. For instance, Stuart is patient and kind. He is not irritable, and he keeps no record of wrongs. Some ideas for action that I would suggest to you as you practice this way and see how you're doing with it is to take a criticism inventory. How are you? Are you a particularly critical person? If you're not sure, ask someone that you know and love and trust to tell you what they're seeing and hearing from your life. Here's another thing you might try. Try taking a fast from all forms of criticism for a 24-hour period. See how it goes for you. See how it goes for those you're closest to. Social researcher and author Brene Brown has asked this question through the years. Do you think, in general, that people are doing the best they can? The answers Dr. Brown has received through the years reflect some clear patterns. For those who answered no to that question, in other words, that they don't think that people are doing the best they can, Dr. Brown observed that such persons struggle with perfectionism. They were quick to point out how they're not always doing the best they could, as they offered examples of situations where they weren't their perfect selves. Get this. Dr. Brown observed that they were just as hard on others as they were on themselves. Now, for those who answered yes to the question, are people doing the best they can? Brene Brown found that as a group, they were more wholehearted and gracious people. They too could offer lots of examples of their own mistakes, but instead of pointing out how they could have done better, they explained that while falling short, their intentions were good and they were trying. One person who answered this question said, "All I know is that my life is better when I assume that people are doing their best. It keeps me out of judgment and lets me focus on what is and not what should be." Assume positive intent is all about our starting place. What's your starting place that you have for others in the church? Do you start from a place of skepticism and a critical spirit? Or do you start from a place of grace and love? This way will produce big positive results for our congregation. But as we just learned, this way will also help us stay out of that harsh prison house of judgment and criticism. FPC Morristown, let's assume positive intent.